what's up? Welcome back to this week's episode of Clapback Culture. I am your co-host, Julia Jessie, with Converge Media, and I'm with my co-host, my partner in crime, Mike Davis with the South Seattle Emerald. What's up, Mike? How you doing?
I'm doing good. It was a long
Happy
week, but this is
Thursday.
the highlight. This is the highlight of the week for me right here. So this is good.
I didn't feel like it was a long week. I felt like this week went by so quickly. It's like, man, these days are going by fast. February's over. We're already, basically into, I feel like it's spring already.
March next week?
Yeah,
March
Monday.
Wow. So happy 1 year anniversary of quarantines and COVID. Maybe not happy, but
Thank you. Thank you so much. And to celebrate that 1 year anniversary, we have a lot to talk about because I got my COVID shot. We're going to talk about it. We are going to talk about it. Let me tell you guys what we're talking about tonight. We have a lot in store for you. Of course, we're coming to you with the most popular headlines this week. Donald Trump got to give up them tax returns. The Supreme Court already ruled it. We're going to talk about that. Some unfortunate events. Killer Mike, his barbershop got shot up, but I really liked his stance on that. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Ted Cruz, I was wondering, are we a day late or a dollar short talking about this? But your boy flew out to Cancun. Got to clap back at the ignorance of what that is. Of course, we're going to get into Joe Biden administration reimagining real facilities for migrant children.
Like how you put
that. You like that, right?
Well, I like
okay. That. And of course, we're going to talk about my experience getting the first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. I'll let you guys know if I am a zombie or not. And then, of course, we got Mike Davis talking a little bit about the the DOJ dropping support of a challenge to transgender policy. So we got a lot going on. I'm excited to get into the show. And before we move forward, I just want to thank Alia, who is our girl working in the wings, directing this show. Thank you so much. We appreciate you being here. So let's just get right into it. So first things first, we have a clip to discuss Trump losing that Supreme Court. Ooh, can I speak today? Losing the Supreme Court case on his tax return.
It was a big loss today for former President Trump regarding his taxes. The U.S. Supreme Court is now stepping aside in a New York grand jury's fight to get Trump's personal and corporate tax returns. News 4's Gus Rosendale live in Midtown for us to break down the ruling. Gus.
Yeah, but Natalie, it was a big win for the DA. We talked to a number of former federal prosecutors who say these documents could reveal secrets that the Trump organization has been trying to keep hidden for years. The Supreme Court clearing the way for Manhattan DA Cy Vance to get a hold of former President Trump's financial records, including years of his tax returns. This is the second time the nation's highest court refused to block a grand jury subpoena for documents that the Trump organization tried to keep confidential.
It's a tremendous victory. The fact that the Supreme Court twice now has said you don't have a special status. You're like any other citizen. You have to comply with the subpoena.
The documents in question stretch back to 2011 and are part of Vance's ongoing investigation into whether the Trump organization broke tax laws. Originally, that work focused on whether Trump paid hush money to two women who said they had affairs with him. But newer court filings indicate the probe is also focusing on issues like insurance and bank fraud.
I'm not surprised. I'm actually really glad that this ruling is in. It is a huge win. It's a win for the people. So I know a lot of people are wondering, why is this still important? Donald Trump is no longer president. But this really is starting to build a case. And I feel an indictment coming on. What do you think, Mike Davis?
I mean, look, Trump he's so evasive. It's like every time they think they got him, they don't get him. So I don't think that he's gonna wind up behind bars. I think that I've given up on that. But what I do think is that we can get some clarity. Like, is Trump in debt? If so, who is he in debt to? Did he pay those women off? Did he actually commit fraud? I mean, he was the president of the United States. So I think that it's only fair for us to be able to see these financial records. And it may not hurt him now that he's not currently president, but he is still eligible to run for public office. So it's really important to let this stuff get out, let the people know what's really happening before he ever is able to attempt to run again.
Yeah, that's actually a really great point. I wasn't thinking about him becoming a candidate again and what that would look like. But yeah, this is a big win. It starts the journey of transparency, and really, it's gonna really determine whether or not he broke any tax laws and what those kind of charges are. If he's trying to make himself look like he earned less money to tax officials, but looking, more appealing to different lenders, then we know there's some fraud kind of going on there. As it relates to his business taxes. And so he's made a lot of claims, while he was campaigning that, he's smart enough to kind of get past these tax officials. So I look forward to the audit that shall come.
Me too.
And again, I'm here with my popcorn, getting ready to just have a snack and see what happens. Or if it's anything like Donald Trump's history, nothing will happen at all.
We'll see, but it's a lot more fun to watch this play out when he's not the sitting president. Like, it's just
absolutely,
my goodness, that part feels good.
I agree. Well, moving on, we have a story from Killer Mike. His barber shop, the swag shop, actually got shot up, and luckily nobody was there. Let's go ahead and play that clip and let people know the story.
Michael Runder, better known as Killer Mike, making a plea to troublemakers after his South Fulton barbershop was struck by gunfire. On Instagram, he says, please consider what would have happened if one of y'all actually hit one another. The jail, the lawyer fees, the funeral cost, and 2 Black families' loss.
I believe there was a dispute amongst several parties in the parking lot, and there appeared to be an exchange of gunfire.
The gunfire shattered the windows at the swag barbershop, some of the glass still on the pavement today. As police continue to investigate, Killer Mike is calling on men to stop the violence. The rapper and activist has long been a community leader. CBS 46 spoke with him just days ago.
Because I have a good job and I sing and dance for a living does not absolve me from social responsibility.
Police say the swag barbershop was not targeted, simply caught in the crossfire.
Man, good thing, nobody was hurt. The swag shop, kind of delayed, but I really think that Killer Mike, in true Killer Mike fashion, took the opportunity to really say, this could have been so much worse, and really identified that there still was a problem here, right?
Yeah. And I mean, this is why Killer Mike is a pillar of his community. It's why he is the leader that he's become. I mean, you have a situation where his business got shot up, but when you listen to all of the statements that he made, and I heard some of these at length, I mean, it was really about the community. He didn't make it about himself at all. It was more so, what the ramifications could have been for the people involved. And I mean, that's big. And it's just refreshing to see somebody, especially a celebrity, actually take that type of stance and to actually live the type of stuff that he talks about, where it's like, he is about community. And after his business got shot up and you see it all boarded up like that, all he really seems to care about is the community and how it affected others.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're thinking about property can be replaced. People can't. Human lives cannot be replaced. We are not people that can just come back to life. And so I really thought it was a great opportunity for him to share with his platform. Let's think about what could have happened: lawyer fees, jail time, funeral costs, families going through griefs, just a grieving community all the way around. And so unfortunately, this brother has to go through yet another transition, because the delay was because of COVID and the pandemic. And so now, here he is. He has a community around him. He thanked several people, his team. He thanked, local law enforcement, the security officers that were there, but really the community as a whole who came and helped clean up and kind of board that up. So we hate to see this happen to, great people like Killer Mike, who make such large investments into the community. But shout out to him for, just sharing a message in that kind of time.
Absolutely. And if you haven't seen his show, that show that he did, Google it. He was out there trying to buy all black everything. It was amazing.
Yeah, I know. And remember, he was he went hungry for a while.
He went hungry. He slept on a bench. He didn't have no black hotel.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. Yeah, I think that was on Vice, wasn't it?
It was on Vice. And if you ever see Crip Cola in the stores, make sure to pick that up.
Oh, yeah. So, of course, you guys can see that Mike and I are consumers of the Vice network. They got a lot of good shows on there. But so when you're not here on Converge Media, go ahead and pop in there. There's some really good content. Definitely. So I wasn't sure if this was still relevant, but I think it's always going to be relevant from now and moving forward. The abomination of a person that is Ted Cruz. Can we play that clip? Oh, yeah.
Now, Senator Ted Cruz tonight is facing the ire of the mob, the media, for traveling to Cancun, Mexico, with his daughters to drop them off and come home as Texas is still addressing the fallout and damage from severe weather. Now, in response, Senator Cruz tonight did say, in retrospect, he might have made a mistake, adding in a statement, in part, wanting to be a good dad. I flew down with them last night, and I'm flying right back this afternoon, and he did. My staff and I are in constant communication with state, local leaders to get to the bottom of what happened in Texas. Joining us now to talk about it is Texas Senator Ted Cruz. I have a piece of this story that nobody knows, that you know to be true, and Governor Abbott knows to be true. And that is, I got contact very early in the week from the official meteorologist of my radio show, Joe Bastardi, frequent guest on this program at weatherbell.com. And he sent a note to both of you, to you and Governor Abbott. In that note, he said this is going to be far worse than I think others are predicting. You got in touch with him. The governor got in touch with him. You took it seriously, and you worked hand in hand with the governor in the lead up to this, knowing this was all a big possibility. And this is days before that happened, and you were fully and completely engaged. And I know that from my own reporting and my own conversations with you and Governor Abbott and with Joe Bastardi. Now, you went and you took your daughters to Cancun and you came back. I think you can be a father and be the senator of Texas all at the same time and make a round trip, quick drop-off trip and go home.
Sometimes I can't tell if Fox News is news or comedy. Because that looked like a sketch, like according to your reporting, Hannity. Really, bro?
Listen, I specifically pulled the Hannity clip because it was just so ridiculous. And I was just like, wow, they super coddled not only Ted Cruz, but they coddled their audience, right? We talk about news, coverage and just like adding that truth into journalism. And the lead in, the coddling of Ted Cruz and the fact that he left residents who are freezing, whose pipes are busting, who have no electricity, no heat, who are melting snow to flush their toilets, to go drop off his, almost grown kids off to Cancun. Like, what are we talking about? Like, I think you can be a father and the senator of Texas. Guess what? Not in a crisis. Okay, not when a crisis meets a pandemic. Like, you are an elected official. You are there to make sure that operations get ran. And so I'm really disappointed, not only in Ted Cruz, mostly in Ted Cruz, but I'm really disappointed in the Fox network as a whole, to Hannity, for just coddling that whole situation and making it seem as if he had a very justifiable excuse. Just another day of fake news over at Fox.
You're absolutely right, and I caught that part in the beginning where he mentioned that Senator Cruz was going to find out or get to the bottom of what happened. And like, come on, man, what happened in Texas. Everybody knows what happens in Texas with Shaw's electricity and who you let run it. And man, come on, everybody knows. So let's not act like we don't. Also, that man was going to Cancun. He was out of it.
And he was going to stay until Saturday.
Had it not come out, it wouldn't have been like a quick drop off, come back. Also, you can't be out here talking about build the wall, but then when Texas loses electricity, you're going to go to Mexico? Like, come on, man. And Hannity how can you talk about doing reporting and you didn't mention any of that? Like he didn't know reporting and then came on and tried to stand on his reporting. So, Fox News, it's a joke, but I watch it. I mean, I need to know what the other side is talking about, but
absolutely,
this was insane.
Listen, they say keep your enemies closer, so I always want to know what's going on.
Oh,
But I'm critical of all news stations. I'm critical of all content that I watch, right? And I try to see things from a lot of perspectives, and I think that we do a pretty good job at this, on this show, kind of showing both sides of the narrative, showing all sides of the narrative, rather, right? Because there's my side, your side, and the truth in the middle, and so. I think that while elected officials do need to be there for their families, and he has every right to take his family to Cancun or to wherever he wants to take them to, so that they can get out of their disaster, right? And kudos to them for having the privilege, the money, and the resources to be able to just hop on a flight and go to a resort and hang out while Texas is on an independent power grid and there is no sustainable energy for anybody else. Kudos to them for having the luxury to be able to do that while other people do not. And so I think what he should have done was send his family and allow his wife, who also traveled, who is a grown person who I think is very capable of getting people on a flight, boarded and off and into a beautiful resort. I don't think they have any issues traveling by themselves. And I think he should have stayed back in Texas with residents to ensure that things were getting done on a steady path. And so I'm glad that the residents really held him accountable for this. It's such a disservice to watch, Fox News report it in this way, because I think that sometimes you really can miss the mark. And without having enough people to kind of tell you that you're wrong and, hey, you missed the mark on that, he kind of came out and said that, but it's a day late and a dollar short. Like, you went all the way to Cancun and then turned around.
And then when he originally got caught, he tried to blame the kids. My daughter. Come on, man. Come on. It can't be that.
Yeah, no, I mean, to be honest, he should have just bossed all the way up and said, look,
exactly,
I'm cold.
I'm out.
I'm out. I didn't have power for 3 days. We were in, a house that was 30 degrees. And in order for me to do my operations, I needed to be in Cancun, drinking this margarita to get you right.
Cancun.
Because this is the thing. If you're bold enough to do it, you might as well just stand in it, right? And so I do think it's such a sucker approach to come back and be like, oh, I needed to go drop off my kids. Your kids are in high school. Your kids are not these little kids. And you have a wife to escort them to wherever they need to be. So don't use this like, I'm trying to take my family to safety kind of crap. It's like, it's not okay. So I can't give Ted Cruz a pass, but I think when people do make mistakes like this, that they need to just stand firm. I would have preferred him to say, you know what, I made a mistake, and not because I needed to drop off my kids, but I made a mistake because, I was cold and I was without. I didn't have any water, I didn't have any heat, I didn't have nothing, and I made the wrong decision. So. I would have appreciated that a little bit more than just the lie.
I agree. But
it doesn't change the fact that residents in Texas are still going through it.
Exactly.
Little bit of background, and I don't want to spend too much time on this story, but I was a little bit confused. I had a conversation with a few people to kind of understand what is going on in Texas. But for those who don't know, Texas is on an independent power grid. And because of this winter storm that came, and just the freezing temperatures, it couldn't meet the demand for people trying to heat up their homes. And it basically just wasn't equipped. And it just failed, right? And so Texas, because it's not under federal regulations, there's no requirement to have this weather preparedness. And so I know now that policymakers are looking into this. There is an investigation going on. So yeah, we'll see what happens, because Texas definitely relies heavily on this natural gas, which of course is harder to find in the winter. So We shall see, prayers going up for those in Texas. Listen, I used to live in a house with no heat and hot water for a period of time. And we used to have to boil the water and take cold showers in the winter. So it's not cool. You'd be in the house, you got those little space heaters. I mean, power wasn't out, but I know what it's like to be in a house that's super, super cold and you're in your coat, you're wearing your shoes to bed. So I get it. And Ted Cruz, he talked about, we're all camping out in the living room. I'm like, man, try doing that when it's not on the state, when it's just on you, right?
When you don't got no big fireplace in your living room that's probably still keeping you warm. And I laugh at the ridiculousness of this whole idea of Ted Cruz doing this. I laugh at the ridiculousness of Hannity, but let's be clear, the people in Texas, they're suffering. You had people that not only did they not have heat, man, people didn't have water. It was horrible. People lost their lives. I don't know if y'all seen on social media how bad it actually got for some people. So, to have your senator hop on a plane and go to Cancun while your family is literally freezing to death, man, it's not even a joking matter, especially when, like Julia mentioned, Texas, they're not federally regulating their power, and from what I've read, I think that those natural gas lines froze because they're not used to Texas having winter storms like that. And you have a state senator that doesn't believe in global warming. So, it's just, there's so many layers to this. It's so much failure in this. And it's horrible that he really was about to hop on that plane and leave everyone that voted for him to freeze.
Ted Cruz is totally unfit to continue office.
That's horrible.
There's just so many things we could say about him. We can talk about, his role in the insurrection. We can talk about this Cancun story until, it falls on deaf ears. But the thing is just like, until, he's up for re-election, the people need to speak. And I hope that this really stains and stings his base. And there just has to be a change. He is totally unfit for office. And so not surprised, but definitely unfortunate for the residents, for sure.
Yeah. I'm glad you left that story in. We needed to talk about that.
Good. So speaking of inhumane conditions, we do have some scrutiny and some clapback for the White House that temporarily opened a facility in Texas to house 700 migrant children ages 13 to 17. The temporary move is because of protocols for COVID-19. So we'll play that clip and then we'll talk about it. Oh, sorry, we didn't have a clip. You're right. I'm sorry about that, you guys. So the AOC, I'll actually let you lead with this, Mike, if you want.
Okay. Yeah, so we're looking at the tweet that came from AOC. It's in regards to the first facility for migrant children being built by Biden's administration. It's in Texas. It is for kids 13 to 17, and it could hold 700 kids. Now, to be fair to them, I guess it's socially distanced, so they'll be safe from COVID. But it's ridiculous, the stance that, Joe Biden campaigned on, talking about immigration versus what it's looked like since he's been in office. There was a report earlier in the week as well that over 26,000 people have been deported since Inauguration Day, and a lot of them are my color, heading to Haiti. So it's like, what's going on? We heard all of the promises early on, and, people expected to see a pivot, but I'm not seeing a pivot. I'm not. And this, people just need to know.
Yeah, definitely. What I thought was interesting is that there was a lot of criticism on, Biden and Vice President Harris, while the campaign was going. They really attacked the Trump administration on caging kids. And so now we're talking about, reopening this facility to house these children that are in confinement. I'm a little bit hesitant, and I know you're going to say, Jules, you always defend your boy, Joe Biden, but if you want to put that overlay up, AOC was really critical of the Biden administration for, opening this facility. She said, this is not okay. Never has it been okay. Never will it be okay, no matter the administration or party. Now, while I agree with the fact that we need to, as the White House said, reimagine our policies on immigration. I think the AOC said we need bold reimagination of immigration policies. Where is the solution that we need right now? So I understand that we're really critical, but we're talking about, where do you want minors to go right now? Right? They're already in prison camps. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but what I'm saying is, what is the current solution that would fit while people have so much criticism, right? And so I'm not backing up either side. I think, I would not like to see kids in prison. And unfortunately, that's exactly what it is. I mean, they are in prisons. This is not the warm and fuzzy facility. They're not in the care of their parents. They're not in the care of people that love them. But the hope is that they will transition to different families and, kind of foster facilities, or, people that can kind of come and take care of them. But really, what is it right now? What is the opportunity that we see right now? And so I'd like to see more people come with a solution to this. I'm interested to see a solution to this because I don't have one, right? And so I don't think we should just open the gates and send them back home, because where are they going to go? You just send them back to the border, and then what? We need to figure out where they can go. And I think right now, if we have these facilities, we need to have real oversight in how these kids are being treated, especially because there was a lot of allegations of, inhumane treatment, abuse, right? From the guards to these kids. I think, I read a Washington Post article where a 16-year-old boy said that one of the security officers slapped him in the face. So there needs to be oversight, right? And so I want to see this change, but I'm just curious about, what does that look like right now amidst COVID, when we have to practice social distancing? We're talking about placement of 700 kids. I don't have the answer to that. And so if our audience has something in the comments, like, what is our solution right now? I understand what our solution will be later, but right now.
I see a lot of stuff in the chats, and we see y'all, but what I'll say is, you speak about the treatment of the kids that we've seen in cages. I do want to be clear with the audience, we're not going to pin that on Trump. That was the Obama administration that had those cages built first and foremost. And when we're looking at this situation, I just want to keep it real. I keep it real.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
Not to pat Trump on the back. We can talk about his zero tolerance policy as well. But I just want to make it clear that, when Joe Biden is campaigning, and this is something that he's saying during his campaign, and you got voices like mine that are calling BS as he's talking about this, because I can go back in his history and look at the stances that he's taking. And all that I heard from my community was, we need Biden over Trump. But now look at where we are, and look at what Biden is doing. And on a separate note, we can talk to Black folks, like specifically, what has he done for y'all? I'm currently writing an article where I'm going through the Lift Every Voice plan, and I'm seeing a lot of empty promises. It's still early. Get it. Got it. As far as the situation right now, what can we do? I mean, man, like, if we can build a facility that looks like a jail, why can't we build a facility that looks like a hotel? Why can't we import these kids into communities and set them up with temporary families or something? I mean, and I know it's COVID and that might be hard, but I just feel like there has to be a middle ground here. There has to be a better solution. And I understand your point, Julia, of you not having the solution. And to be honest, I don't have the solution either. But I'm gonna tell you what I do have. I have dollars that I pay in taxes that come out of every paycheck that I collect, and I pay people to come up with these solutions. So why do these people continue to collect my money and never give me solutions? Why do we have so many social issues that always go unsolved, yet when it's time to pay taxes, the government is always so ready to collect? Why is it that people like Mike Davis must pay their taxes or go to jail, but cats like Donald Trump, who collect tax dollars to pay their salaries, can sit there and do nothing for us? That's the problem that I have. The problem that I have is that there's too much placed on community. It shouldn't be us that has to come up with these ideas. If the government is going to tax us, the government needs to come up with solutions. And this solution right here, it's not good enough.
Hell yeah, Mike Davis. Like, exactly. This is the fact of the matter is this. Is it the reopening of is this the temporary reopening of a facility, or is this caging kids? This is a prison camp, no way around it, right? Like, this is exactly what it is. And so I don't want to give anybody a pass on this, not the Obama administration, not the Trump administration, not the Biden administration. And to your point, you're right. Our federal dollars are paying people who should have the solutions to this. I don't have the solution to this. I see some people in the comments who are coming up with some great ideas. Like, maybe we need to have some type of community coalition and organizations come in to say, hey, this is what I think I should do. And those tax dollars can infuse capital into the organizations who feel like they have a strategy to place these kids until things can happen. And so all the money that's putting into this facility and the individuals operating this facility could be used to go to different organizations that can support these kids in a better way. I mean, I can't even think about the mental health impact that's been had on these kids, right? Absolutely. You know what? And that's why I'm saying, regardless of the building, right? Regardless of even just the actual physical space, what is happening inside the space? And I know that, you know, Vice President Biden, she was highly critical of one of these facilities, and she wanted to go into one, and she wasn't able to go because she didn't have an appointment. And so I'd like to see her keep that same energy. And if she can't go, to send somebody on her behalf and really do a sniff test and see what's happening in here. Are these kids getting education? Are they being fed properly? Are they, do they have any, therapeutic resources? Is there mental health resources? Do they get phone calls home to their family or friends at home, like anybody? Do they have access to the internet? Do they have, like, what is happening, and who are the people kind of managing this facility? And do they have wraparound services that will really support these kids while they're there? And so,
great point.
It's a lot, and I'm kind of less worried about what it looks like. I'm obviously not excited to see kids in gray walls and metal beds. But if what can we do to reimagine this situation right now, and where are the wraparound services to make sure that these kids get exactly what they need? 13 to 17 years old, they're old enough to be involved in what they need, and do they even have a say so in what's going on? And so let's put the human back in this, and remember that these kids not only are just kids, but they're human beings. And they didn't make a decision to come here or not. Their parents made a decision. They're probably sitting back like, man, I wish I could have just stayed home. Like, because this is not no better. So we have a real opportunity here to really change the narrative and really help these kids out. And so we're going to stay on this story. I love all the commentary that we see that's going on. Man, there's so many comments, you guys. I think we all really feel strongly about this, and I'm really glad to see that nobody's just taking one side on this. Everyone's taking the side of the kids. Dora, can I just say that this affects me on an ancestral level? The border crossed us. I know this is affecting many from other countries as well. Hell yeah. Like, honestly, great point. Wendy Glenn, happening inside: molestation, physical abuse, threats, slave labor. They're treating them like criminals, and all they did was come to America with their parents. And guess what? Even if someone reads this and says, well, you don't know, guess what? I know what's going on in federal prison facilities to American citizens who are born and bred here. and they are facing the same abuse and
Yeah.
slave labor.
And
So
just imagine how you get treated if you're not from here, if you don't have the ability to speak up for yourself, because we know how we treat Americans in those facilities.
Especially you think, and then I'm highly critical. You have 13 and 17-year-old kids. So do you have young males and females housed together? Are they separate? And then like, there's just so many things to think about. I mean, that is the type of age, like my parents weren't even like, you can go spend the night at somebody's house, right? You're not even allowed to be in, spend the night in the same room with boys and girls. Like you're not even supposed to be sharing the same bathrooms. And so it's just, there's so much wrong with this situation. It's heartbreaking. And man, I'm glad that we're having this conversation. I'm glad that, everybody is speaking so strongly about the matter, because this is serious. And to Dora's point, this is touching people on an ancestral level. And, this is, when we talk about Black and brown people, this is like number one for brown people, number one for people who are, kids coming here who don't have a choice. They don't have a choice. And so we cannot condemn kids who don't have a choice to do anything. We can't condemn. I'm not even here to condemn adults who made a decision that they may have needed to make. So it's a lot. It's a lot here. It's definitely a lot here. So
we will follow up.
Yeah,
we'll definitely follow up.
We will definitely follow up. Well, let's go ahead and take a quick break. When we come back, I'm going to tell you guys all about getting my COVID shot.
We're right here at East Precinct. It doesn't get any closer than this right now.
Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents.
As a small independent media company, we rely on the financial support of individuals and business members to stay on the front lines of the news that's important to you.
Welcome back to Clapback Culture. I am your co-host, Julia Jessie, with my co-host, Mike Davis of the South Seattle Emerald.
What's up, y'all? So
we just wrapped up a heated discussion on migrant children. I'm still like in the comments. But I do want to, I know we're going to go back to the COVID thing, but before we do, I do want to acknowledge Wendy's comment. She said, I grew up in foster care for 40 years ago and it happened to us. And she's saying it happened, meaning the molestation, physical abuse, threats, slave labor. And we were American children of color. Nothing has changed. If you think about the foster care facilities, group homes, even kids transitioning out of foster care and having to go to homeless shelters and things like that, and just their journey in life and really the trauma that happened to them right here on American soil, it just makes me continue to think about what is going on with those kids at that facility. So again, our hearts are with them. We will continue to talk about it here on our channel. And, it almost feels weird to just be like, okay, on to the next thing, but that's kind of what we got to do.
What we do here. It's all good. It's all, man,
it's all good. Yeah. Don't hold it personal. So do I look like a zombie?
No, you're good.
Look, you guys, I am really excited to share with you that I decided to jump out here and get my COVID-19 vaccine. I really thought it was important for me to jump out here and get it because I know that a lot of Black and brown people were very hesitant because of the jaded past surrounding vaccinations and really just the quick rollout that this has been. And so it was pretty scary. I made my appointment, and after that, I had such a large amount of anxiety. I was like, oh my God, am I really going to do this? And of course I had all of the questions like, What are they putting in my body? Is it a chip? Am I going to turn into a zombie? Am I going to get sick? You know, you just go through all of those motions. And, you know, some of it is just not real. And some of it is okay to feel. And so I did make the decision to do so because I felt like it was a good choice for myself. And I do feel that it's not a good choice for everybody. And so I do think you need to talk to your primary care physician if you have one. If you do not have one, I think, you know, definitely get a primary care physician. Look into speaking to a doctor, your doctor, to see if it is okay for you. I do have a quick clip to share with you guys because I thought to document my experience. So I will share that with you, and then we'll come and we'll talk about it.
So paperwork is filled out, and they ask you which arm you prefer to get the vaccine in. Some of the questions that are on here are pretty standard. That was super easy and quick. I just got my COVID-19 vaccine. I got my first dose of Moderna, and I was able to make an appointment because I work in healthcare and I live in a ward that's disproportionately affected. It was very easy. It was painless. How you doing? And yeah, and quick, in and out. You go in, you fill out your paperwork, you give them your ID and your insurance card, or, you know, if you don't have insurance, you can still get it, at least here in DC. They process your paperwork, you sit with the pharmacist or whoever's giving you the injection, and literally, I didn't even think he gave me the shot because that's how quick and painless it was.
Hold on. So, and you haven't had no pain since then? You're good. No.
I definitely no. So I remember I sent you guys a text and I let you know I got it. So I got my vaccine on Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Immediately after I got my shot, you know, they make you wait 15 minutes in the facility that you get it at, I guess, to see if, you know, you have an adverse reaction, right? And then you just get up and go. And so there was a lot of our seniors there, really glad to see people actually taking the opportunity to get it. A few healthcare workers like myself were also there. And you guys know I was really hesitant in the beginning of this. And I had a lot of conversations. You know, I shared with you guys that my mom got the vaccine. Some of my aunts did receive the vaccine. And I also was on a forum with a lot of Black physicians who were talking about it. And one thing that came to the forefront of that conversation was talking about, you know, Black and brown people have never had an opportunity to be at the front of the line. And so now we have this shot to say, you guys get it first. And, you know, rightfully so, we're really nervous about that. And what does that mean? And are we being set up? And so I thought that, you know, I needed to be a leader in, you know, to my peers, to my community, and let people know that it was safe for me, right? And that this is not, you know, kind of a ploy. And hopefully, you know, down the line when people do get a little bit more comfortable and there's some more case studies, you know, I've been, you know, following up with my updates to let people know how I've been feeling, letting the physicians know how I've been feeling, so that, you know, when people feel comfortable to get it themselves, they'll have that data. And so to your point, did I experience any pain? Yes, I did. My arm was sore for about 3 days, just injection site. I went to work the next day. I felt good immediately afterward. You know, I do kickboxing every other day. So I was still in the gym, beating people up. Yeah, so I've been good. I've been hitting my burpees and my jumping jacks and everything. But again, that doesn't mean that it's going to be the same for everybody else. But for me, you guys know I already had COVID back in June. And so this was the best choice for me because I do travel for work. I work inside a healthcare facility with a lot of nurses that are going into patients who are receiving in-home care. And I don't want to continue to spread because I know that I have to be out and about for my job. So in addition to working for the council member who we do still have community events. I mean, when COVID first happened, we were passing out food for weeks. I think Miss Wendy, you're on. I think we did 41,000 meals in the first 3 months. And so we were hand delivering hot meals to seniors every single day, 5 days a week. And so it's just really difficult for me to not have that high level of interaction because I'm outside, And so I think for people who are outside, who, don't not necessarily have the luxury to stay at home, because I don't want to say it's a luxury that you are at home, but, because I have to go into the office and there are about 20 to 25 people plus the field staff that kind of come in and out for supplies and things like that. I felt like this was a good choice for myself.
I feel that. And I'm glad you're being safe. I mean, this is my office, but I feel you. And I'm glad you're good. I'm glad you didn't get zombified. And I mean, I feel like I've definitely pivoted since the beginning. I mean, early on, it was a definite, absolutely not for me. Now, I'm a little intrigued. People getting it more, but I really think that, getting COVID seems to be worse than getting the vaccine. I think that that's kind of where my mind is at. And look, I'm going to be like, I keep it real with y'all. I always keep it real with y'all. In the early days of the vaccine rollout, where there was talking about trying to give it to Black and brown people first, I was afraid because that to me sounded like they wanted to guinea pig us. But now we're in these days where we're seeing all these rich folks try to cut the line. It makes it feel a little bit safer. So, shout out to Julia. I'm glad you got it. You're having those community connections. So it's important for people like that to be safe. And we will definitely follow up. So anybody out there in the clapback culture community that wants to re-tap in with us next week, make sure that Julia is still straight. We'll definitely have that.
Well, I scheduled so after you get your first dose, what happens is you get the link to schedule for your second dose. So I actually am getting my next dose on the 21st of March. And a lot of people who have received it did say that the second dose is when they kind of felt not so good for maybe a day or two. So when I got my first dose, I kind of cleared my schedule to say, okay, just in case I don't feel good, I want to make sure I kind of get, everything kind of out the way. So yeah, I mean, listen, it's not for everyone right now. I know that some people, really want to get it. And I felt like, what, I have this opportunity, and I felt I needed to be more responsible, right? And I'll be honest with you guys, my mom would not let me come home. I didn't get to go home for Thanksgiving. I didn't get to go home for Christmas. She just was like, you're not coming in my house. She was like, oh, you're doing that turkey giveaway. Oh, you're doing the toy giveaway. And I'm like, yeah. And I canceled my ticket twice. And so I want to see my family, like that's kind of what it boils down to. Like, I want to see my family. So now that I have it, my mom was like, oh, good. You're going to get your second dose and, I'll buy your ticket and everything like that. So,
so in studio, we in studio?
Yeah, we're in the studio.
When you come home,
you're gonna come home. Yeah. Come home. Oh, I'm like, wait, what? We're in the studio.
No, when you come home, that means we get to be in studio. Yes.
Yes. And and one other thing I want to let you guys know: when you get your vaccine, this does not mean you cannot get COVID. You can still get COVID. The point of getting the vaccine is that you're not going to be a spreader. And it's really low that you're going to catch COVID-19. I don't want to get COVID again. It sat me down for 3 weeks. I did not feel good. I, wasn't on my deathbed, but I just could not go through that level of isolation again. And I see my homegirl, Egypt on here. She literally nursed me back to health with all of her herbal remedies. So I will continue to be masking. I'll continue to social distance and take care of myself, wash my hands and sanitize my areas, and practice everything on the CDC guidelines. But I'm very grateful that I was able to get my shot and lower my risk of infection and really lower my opportunity to spread it to other people, because you guys know I had a lot of loss in my family. It was a lot. So it was the right decision for myself. And, I hope that if anything, my journey on this, may somebody, this is like a decision for them. So I want to make sure that this doesn't feel like I'm selling it, but just letting you guys know my experience, so that if you make the choice, you kind of know what's going on.
Thanks for keeping us updated, and thanks for documenting your journey. We appreciate that.
Yeah. So we do have a really good story that you brought to the forefront. I'll let you lead it.
Sure. So we're gonna do something different, y'all. And we built a solid community here, and we come Thursday nights, y'all come, and you guys always hop in the comments. And, Julian and I, we lead the conversation, but we appreciate all of your input. So I want to try something different tonight. I have a story that I heard that I found particularly interesting that I want to discuss, but I really want it to be a discussion with the audience. I am not an expert on this topic, but I didn't want to run from it. I feel like it's something that does need to be talked about, and we are going to talk about it. So bear with us, watch the clip, and on the other side, we're going to break it down.
Of President Biden's first executive orders was to allow transgender athletes to participate in girls' sports. Quoting his order, children should be able to learn without worrying about whether they will be denied access to the restroom, the locker room, or school sports. So let's talk about the real-world impact of this action with a track athlete from Danbury, Connecticut, Alana Smith, and Alliance Defending Freedom Legal Counsel, Christiana Holcomb. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you for having us.
I want to start by playing something that your mom, Alana, said about you going into competition under these circumstances. Here's what she said.
Alana and I were talking about what her strategy was going to be for the day. And she looked at me and said, Mom, it really doesn't matter because I'm running against the boys today. I won't win.
So, Alana, what kind of position does this put you in as a biologically born female athlete?
It's really disappointing because I know that me and all the other biological females work really hard at track practice, and we work hours a day just to shave off tenths of a second for our times, and it's just really disappointing to know who's going to win the race before it even starts.
Going on, the ACLU says this. Their deputy director for transgender justice states that attempt to bar trans girls from sports, regardless of age or of transition, medical intervention, or anything else, with the new federal administration will now be risking lawsuits by the federal government, Justice Department intervention, and the loss of federal funding. I want to play something from Kara Dansky from the Women's Human Rights Campaign. She is pretty far left, a feminist who would describe herself as very far left. This is what she said earlier tonight when talking with Tucker Carlson.
What this will have the impact of doing is obliterating women and girls' sex-based rights at a federal level. This is rank misogyny, and it is coming from the left. Two, there is a tremendous amount of money.
So, Christiana, this has been one of those things that we talk about. It's so interesting to see groups coming together from far left, far right, across the spectrum, coming together to stand up and say, as women's rights advocates, so they may disagree on all kinds of other things like abortion and, workplace issues. They agree here that they think that this is fundamentally unfair to women. But this is an administration. We have our first female vice president. President Biden has talked quite a bit about women's rights and wanting to respect them.
So what we have here, so Alana Smith is that athlete. She, along with two other cisgender female athletes, had a lawsuit. And the Trump administration had the Department of Justice back them in their lawsuit to ban transgender athletes from competing in sports outside of the gender that they were born with. When Biden became president, he ordered the Department of Justice to back away from that lawsuit, and they took a step back. So that's why that became a story today. And that clip right there was older, but there was a new clip today, also from Fox News. Surprise, surprise. But and so Dora was fast with it. So I had a conversation with someone, because I'm not an expert in this, and I wanted to bounce ideas off someone who I thought was more informed than me. And that was what it really boiled down to. If you believe that trans women are women, then they should be able to compete with women. And so, and that was just interesting. But, I also coach sports and in athletics. So I do see where Alana Smith is coming from in the instance of she lost, and there were two athletes in Texas who had transitioned from male to female that, they broke a lot of records. They won state championships, and a lot of those female athletes were upset. So I just wanted to pose it to the audience. I wanted to see how people feel. I see that we already have some comments coming in, and I just want to discuss.
Yeah. Well, hopefully I can join this too. I think, the clip made the assumption that biologically born males are stronger and faster than biologically born females. And I'd like to just say that aside from gender, I know a lot of biological females that would blow some of these biological males out the water. So I think that times are changing, and we need to continue to be open to accepting trans men, trans women, and trans kids to however they identify, right? And it's already got to be extremely hard to wake up one day and say, you know what, this is not the correct body that I was born in, and be able to live with yourself with that, and then be able to present that to your family, and then to your friends, and then to your school, and to the rest of the world. And so the fact that you even have trans kids feeling like they want to compete in an arena all together shows the level of strength and courage that they have. And I think that we should celebrate that. And you really, what is the alternative? And so you have a biologically born or I guess you have a biologically born male child competing in a male's event, but really he is a she's a girl. And so you have this girl who's competing amongst the boys. Why does it matter what your genitalia says about you to say whether or not you're a competitive athlete, or that you're going to be stronger, faster than the other athletes? That's such an ignorant assumption. And I think that we need to open the arena. If someone is coming, and saying, I am a woman and this is the way I'm going to present myself to the world, and that's what it is, then we need to accept that. And it's not our choice. And we don't need to continue to have laws kind of dictate what that needs to be and how to shape that. And so we gotta be open, and we need to be minded. Being transgender is not a new area of discussion. And I look forward to a day where people can show up as they are, however they identify, and be able to compete in competition in the class that they choose to compete in.
Right. And we didn't have the clip, but one of the athletes in question who had transitioned, she spoke. And she said that, it was hard enough for her to come to grips with who she was as a person. And then, once she realized that, and once she was able to take the steps to become who she was, then she tried to come and do something that she enjoyed, which is running. And it was only met with opposition. And, when you look at Black trans women and the rate that they die, whether it's murder, whether it's suicide, I just don't know that we should be in the position to make their lives any harder than it already is. that's a really, really hard thing to do. I mean, the amount of oppression that they face just trying to walk down the street every day, it's difficult. So it's a tough conversation, and I don't have all the answers, but I definitely I wanted to pose it to the audience. I wanted to highlight that this conversation is happening, and I was really just interested to see what people would think. So, Alia, can we put a couple more comments on the screen?
Yeah, I see Miss Wendy. She does a lot of work in the LGBTQ community. She actually heads the commission on LGBTQ community, and we have both worked with a lot of transgenders. So she's saying many transgender females are not athletic by no means, because they were always more female than male. On top of the fact that we just heard, I mean, we sat, I think towards the beginning of the pandemic, because there was issues with where transgender folks could be housed in terms of shelters, because they did not want to, some of the trans women didn't want to go to the men's shelters. Right. And so there's so many different areas where this is constantly being talked about. Maggie, why have boys and girls sports at all? Open it up. Yeah, you know what? That's actually a really good idea. Like, if you want to just even the playing field, and if you're saying that it's unbalanced, I'm open for, even if maybe we have an additional league where it's like boys and girls. And here's another thing, Mike. Do you know that that there are girls, biologically born girls, that play on men's football teams, right? And they, have to get waivers in order to compete. So what difference right. So now why all of a sudden is this a big difference, right? So if I'm a biologically or a cisgender female and I want to play football and there's only a boys football team, why is that any different than if I'm trans? Right. There is no difference.
And I mean, I understand the argument for opening it up, but is it necessary to open it up, or should people be able to compete where they feel comfortable competing?
Yeah, they should. You're right. Let me correct myself. There shouldn't be it shouldn't be. I'm not anti male female sports, right? But I'm also open to everything, right? And I think we don't need to we don't have to create anything. People should be able to compete where they feel comfortable. But if it's an opportunity to have, combined sports and athleticism, that also should be on the table.
Right. And I seen somewhere, maybe I don't like the idea of a separate league, because I am a Black man and I know the history in this country of separate but equal, and it's right. Never equal. Like you're not going to get separate but equal. That doesn't exist. I also seen somebody, Tony Hamilton, bringing up the idea of combat sports. I mean, it's one thing when we're talking about track and field, but what if we're talking about boxing? What if we're talking about mixed martial arts? Is this still something that we will be okay with? I mean, why
wouldn't we be okay with it? If I'm an athlete and I say that I'm comfortable stepping into the ring with whoever I'm gonna step into the ring with, then don't worry about me, because I've already signed my waiver. I respect my rights. I have a right as a human being to decide that I'm cool with stepping in this ring. So if I want to box Mike Davis, then I'm a box Mike Davis.
I understand that, Julia. But what about those of us that were raised to never put their hands on women? If I'm a male boxer, okay. So
I'm a male.
So
I'm a trans
you would
male.
be okay. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's just what it is, right? And so you got to respect, because this is the thing. Gender is not decided by what's between my legs. That's not my identity is not what's between my legs. My identity is how I choose to identify. And so there's a really good conversation about this on the Breakfast Club. I will post it on my social media for you guys to go pull up and watch it. But there's a conversation. This is a loaded conversation. And it's
Julia, can we put that clip on Clapback Culture's Instagram?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So I will pull it up. It's probably in the archives, but it was a couple years ago on the Breakfast Club. Really, really, really good conversation, about an hour-long dialogue about all of this, right? And so it gives you a better understanding on where trans people stand. A lot of these, kind of pronoun situations that a cisgender female like myself probably is not the best person to kind of talk about, but to continue leading this conversation, we have a lot of education to receive. And I think as long as we have an open heart and an open attitude about this, allow people to be who they, want to be, and respect who they are and how they show up in the world, then, you can't go wrong with that at all.
Can I say something on the issue of respect, honestly?
Mm-hmm.
So I spent a summer a long time ago working, and I had a transgender woman who I worked with, and I've never seen anyone in my life get disrespected as much as she did. And I'm a black man. Like I've been on the business end of racism. I've been on the business end of discrimination. Understand that. I've never been in a situation when it happened to me every day. But I know there's going to be people out there that think that I'm exaggerating when I say this, but I promise you, I'm not exaggerating. I watched that woman get harassed 5 days a week for 11 weeks in a row. And it just blew my mind. And I almost couldn't comprehend how she kept coming back to work. But at the same time, it's like she has to work. She has to live in society, but she got it from kids, from adults, from black people, from white people, people driving in their cars that will make a point to turn around, to come back, to roll down their window, to say something, people throwing objects across the street. I had never witnessed anything that intense before, and I never have again. So, I don't imagine a world in which any man would decide he wanted to be a woman to play sports, because the things that come with that transition are absolutely not worth the trade-off. Like, it's just, I don't know. It was insane. So I just want to say that. And you mentioned respect. And I just wish that we did live in a world where people could just have basic, decent respect for each other. And unfortunately, that's just not the world that we live in.
There's a lot of people that are transphobic, and it's really, really, it's sad and it's heartbreaking. And, after speaking to several people in the trans community, one thing that really stood out is that they're never offered career placing jobs, right? It's already difficult for them to get a job. One girl was telling me, I can always get a job as a waitress, but I never can get anything at the front of the house, right? I never can get the manager position to run the show. And I thought about that, and I thought just how easy it is for me to walk in and just easily be myself. And then to wake up and have the whole world always look at you like you're not who you feel you are, has to be so difficult. And I hope that everyone kind of takes this conversation away tonight and thinks about, really allowing more inclusivity in their lives, and, and just the difficulty that it is, right? To be trans, they're also being, highly criticized in their own community, adding that T in LGBTQ, like all of that. So it's been a journey for a lot of trans people. This conversation could be its own show. But yeah, there's still a lot of work to have individuals be included. It's a plight. And imagine being Black and trans, it's like, man, that's not something you choose, and you wake up every day and you live it. And they're some of the bravest people in the world, and I commend them for having the courage to stand up and be exactly who they are. So we have gone over our time, Mike Davis. We were gonna do a Black History thing. I don't know if we still have time. to do that. We're kind of already 12 minutes, so I think we'll just cut it short right here. But this has been a great show. I do want to correct myself real quick on the COVID vaccine. And I did see a few people correct me in the comments. Love that. You can, if you do get the vaccine, you still can spread COVID-19. What I was just trying to say that, you know, it's really low chance that you're going to catch it, but you absolutely can still spread it, right? So continue to wear your mask, continue to sanitize, continue to do everything. The vaccine is meant to make sure that you don't die from COVID. So you can still catch it and spread it and all that. So I wanted to make that point before we close the show. But again, Mike Davis, it's always a pleasure to come hang out with you for an hour on Thursday nights. Always great to have so many people in the room. We love when you guys comment and talk to us and be interactive. It's really what makes this show so much fun to do. Pull up in these comments. Let us know what you guys want to talk about throughout the week so that we can come to you with these stories. Mike and I, we get text messages all the time of people, sharing headlines, sharing topics, and we want you to be more involved. So please pull up. Let's have a conversation about that. And of course, you guys can find me on Instagram and Twitter with the @treasure_of_JULES. Please pull up, follow me so that we can stay connected. Mike, where can they find you?
You can find me at the South Seattle Emerald, southseattleemerald.com. You can also find me on Twitter @RealMDavis. If y'all got topics that you want to discuss, reach out to me, reach out to Julia, let us know. We'll definitely bring them here. And as always, I just got to thank the audience. We love your participation. We want to build a community here. So when y'all come and y'all be up in the comments, we truly, truly appreciate it. So thank you to everyone out there.
Thanks for watching, you guys. And we will see you next Thursday. Thanks for watching Clapback Culture.
Peace.